Hi, this is Meg Lightheart from megalightheart.com. All this week we've been talking about different types of awareness practices that you can have, and someone on Twitter asked me, so I talk about awareness evolving leaders, and they asked me, was there something specific around awareness practices that had benefits apart from just like the benefits of mindfulness? And I think there are. The thing I work often with people on as a leadership coach is I work with people as they're moving from an independent lens on the world to an interdependent lens on the world. And signals of that are the ability to think in much longer timelines, trace things much further back, look at possible futures much further ahead. The ability to include a broader set of perspectives when you're looking at an issue, and being aware of who you're including and not including, which of course has all sorts of social justice implications, and also being deeper in your empathy. The ability to spot patterns grows bigger with people who grow into an interdependent perspective on the world. They're able to spot broader patterns of time, but also sense when things are similar to something that's gone before, and also different from what's gone before. So the ability to not treat an event as a one-off thing, but to see how interconnected it is, how interdependent it is on so many other things. For example, some of the best writing I've been reading about climate justice sees how it can't be unlinked from social justice, from the history of capitalism, from the history of colonialism, because that's what's produced the kind of climate effects that we're looking at. The relationship with power changes in terms of your ability to see how much you use very direct power as opposed to using very holding power, or are you growing into being able to hold a situation for more mutual power? All of these things grow as people evolve their lens on the world and are able to deal with mess and complexity in a way that's much more aware of the interdependence of everything. And one of the factors that kind of sits in the middle of all of that is an awareness of awareness. And the ability to, what some of the scholars in the field talk about as standing on the balcony and being able to look, it's not like looking down, but it's looking out across what's the field of where you're taking action. And the whole aim is that we're then taking much more wise and timely action, because we're not just taking a single action, we're seeing how it connects to everything, or it's much more connected to what happens around that action. And so I do think there's something around awareness being something that grows those capabilities, and stepping outside of blinkers and silos to be able to take wiser action, which I think is what's going to be needed on a big scale if we're going to be taking action in terms of climate and social justice that is not that's reducing the amount of harm it's causing to the most marginalised people, but also in terms of running an organisation or an initiative or a project, your ability to see how things all connect and who you include and what the possible timelines are. And those are things that we're going to talk about next week in the context of dealing with challenges and problem solving. Your ability to be aware of your awareness helps you see what barriers, emotional, mental, spiritual barriers you've got in place, and how to break them down so that you're more able to expand your lens on the world. So there's a whole bunch of practices, and I'd recommend that you do as much awareness of awareness as you can do. There's things like morning pages, which comes from the work of Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way, who works with ordinary people in their creative recovery. And she recommends, I did this for years, writing 3 pages of longhand every morning, and you just keep your hand moving, which also connects to the work of Natalie Goldberg, who wrote Writing Down the Bones, which I read as a young pre-teen, and really affected the way that I write. So the idea is, every morning you get up, you write 3 pages of longhand, and over weeks I remember noticing things going, oh, I'm still talking about that I was talking about a few weeks ago, or you uncover a fear that you've been pushing down, and so your awareness of what's really going on for you emotionally, and what your mind is really thinking about behind the editor becomes really clear. You can do things like split your day up into meal times, and then at lunchtime look back on breakfast and go, what's been my most satisfying encounter, my most satisfying interaction since breakfast, and why? What's been my least satisfying interaction since breakfast, and why? And you just touch lightly on it, but again you begin to spot patterns. When you, at dinner time, you think back to lunch, at breakfast you think back to dinner, and admittedly at the time of recording we're in the middle of lockdown, so maybe you're not having a great deal of interactions with a lot of people, but there's something around tracking things over time, over weeks and months, where you begin to surface things that were unconscious, and that action of taking things from unconscious to conscious only adds to the wisdom of the way we can move through the world. I kept a mood diary for a while using an app, and it helped me notice things that were unconscious, like I was generally on the slightly negative side of neutral most of the time, apart from days when I went for a run first thing, and then I was on the slightly positive side of neutral, and that really helped me to see that my mental health was really looked after if I went for a run in the morning. So really straightforward, but I hadn't really, over a period of 2 weeks, and you go, oh blimey, every day I went for a run first thing I felt this way, every day I didn't go for a run I felt this way. Okay. And the other thing they found with people who develop a really strong interdependent lens is that almost 50% of them have some form of stillness practice in the morning, whether that's meditation, whether that's mindful stretching of some sort, prayer, contemplation, maybe even morning pages might count as that, but there's some form of stillness, so that you're separating yourself from the whirring thoughts of the mind, and stepping back on a kind of internal balcony, and that means that we're much more able to be aware of the emotional stuff that comes up for us, the mental stuff, the spiritual stuff, that means that we can be more flexible and fluent, and we're able to move in ways that will hopefully lead to more wise and timely action when we're looking at the things that we're doing in the world. So I really think awareness practices are important, and this is the last of this set of 5 videos around awareness, and I'm sure I'll return to it at some point in the future, but give some of the things a go, and I'd genuinely love to hear how you get on, or what kind of awareness stuff that you do. And of course, if you want some support in becoming more conscious and taking wiser action, particularly if you're someone who's leading a project or a team or an organisation, then have a look at megalightheart.com and see whether coaching might be a thing for us to do together. You can also support, become what they used to call a patron of this of the videos and podcasts that I'm producing by going to patreon.com/megalightheart. I'm Mega Lightheart everywhere, apart from like TikTok and Snapchat. I'm too old. And make sure you click, if you're on YouTube, click subscribe so you know when these videos are coming out, or wherever you're watching. It really helps the algorithms of people finding stuff if you click like and leave a comment, and maybe share with people, and that helps more people discover the kind of the work that I'm doing. So thanks very much. Next week we're going to begin to look at some patterns around problem solving, so more overt things around when you're looking at a challenge or an opportunity, how you can find your way out of a narrow mindset so you're much more able to do some of the things around wise and timely action that we've been talking about today. So I'm Meg Lightheart from megalightheart.com, and I'll see you in the next one.